Mark, one of the Mad Movie Mark movie review. It has been a while since I have done a review, but I am back and I am ready to review. I bought a new camera, so hopefully it is better than the one I had before. Also bought a new mic, so hopefully you can hear me a little bit better. But I have more or less finished the tests that I need to take. I have graduated with my MBA, Master's in Business, and I am ready to tackle something with my spare time. So hopefully this is going to be it. Um, this is going to be my top 10 least favorite movies of all time. It is not going to be a list of the top 10 worst movies ever made because everyone does that, and I'm sure you guys have seen reviews of Date Movie, Epic Movie, Super Babies, Troll 2, and I'm just not going to do it. I would also, you've probably seen The Room on some of the worst movies ever made also, but I saw The Room with my fiance, and now every time I enter a room, she says, "Oh, hi, Mark," and it's a great feeling. So I would never put that on the list of the worst movies of all time. So this is going to be my top 10 least favorite movies of all time. What is the criteria for least favorite movies? So these are going to be movies that I thought for whatever reason that they would be good. There was something that was there was something in the movie that I thought I would thoroughly enjoy, whether it be a director, an actor, a theme, whether it be any of those. There was a reason why I was excited to see it. I watched it and thought that it was very bad, and it became one of my least favorite movies of all time because it totally disappointed me in every single way. So number 10 is going to be Across the Universe. This is a musical. So if you had watched or my top 10 favorite movies of all time, or if you just go to my YouTube channel and look at all the movies that I have reviewed, it's not that many yet, you will notice that I did put a musical into my top 10 favorite movies of all time. That musical was Singing in the Rain. Singing in the Rain is a perfect, as close as you can get to a perfect musical for me. I love musicals. I love Cabaret. I love West Side Story. I love Top Hat. I love White Christmas. So I love musicals. And this movie also uses all their music in this movie is from the Beatles. So I love the Beatles. So I figured, how could this movie lose? Also, it's directed by Julie Taymor. Julie Taymor is the person who helped bring Lion King to Broadway, one of the biggest musicals Broadway ever had. It's very successful. She won a Tony Award, I believe, for directing it. So she definitely has some experience with musicals. She has some experience with bringing them to a mass audience. So I thought that this movie would be great. I was, however, obviously disappointed by this movie. So this movie stars Evan Rachel Wood as Lucy Kerrigan, Jim Sturgis as Jude, Joe Anderson as Max, Dana Fuchs as Sadie, Martin Luther as Jojo, TV Carpio as Prudence, and it also has Joe Cocker, Bono, and Eddie Izzard in it. And those last three were also reasons why I wanted to watch this movie. Joe Cocker is a phenomenal singer, probably one of the greatest voices of our time. Bono from U2, I mean, come on, he's also a terrific singer, songwriter. Never seen either of them act before, but I saw David Bowie in The Prestige, and he was great with that. He was also in Labyrinth, so singers can act. Even Eminem was good in 8 Mile, right? So it's happened before. And also Eddie Izzard is in this movie as well. I love Eddie Izzard's stand-up Just to Kill. I saw Eddie Izzard live when he was in Beverly Hills many years ago. This was probably, let's see here, this was probably back in around 2007 or 8. I saw him live. So I also very much like Eddie Izzard. I think he's hilarious. So this movie had everything working for it, everything that I would like. But it has some issues in it that I just really can't get past. So there's 31 songs in this movie. It's a 2 hour and 13-minute movie. Um, there's about 30 minutes of dialogue total between the characters, and the rest of it is just singing. So they try to use song to, instead of using verbal dialogue, they try to set up scenes and they try to explain things through the Beatles songs, which some of it works and some of it doesn't. Um, I don't know a lot about Beatle history. I love Beatles songs. I can listen to a song on the radio, but I wasn't around in the 70s, so I don't know a lot about their albums, how their albums are supposed to flow with each other. But as far as I know, their music was not like Pink Floyd The Wall, where it tells a story throughout and it's easy to kind of make a movie out of it because it tells a cohesive story. And one of the issues I had in this movie was a lot of their songs. So this movie's set in the 70s, so a lot of their songs are about. I mean, a lot of their songs can fit some of the themes they're talking about from the 70s. Um, you have to kind of use your imagination, though. It doesn't specifically reference things that they're doing. You just have to kind of picture it and imagine that they're talking about what's going on. But not all the songs are, as far as I know, are meant to go together like that, and they don't go together as smoothly as you would want. There are specific scenes in this movie where you have two or three songs just lined up together, and they're trying to tell a story with these songs. They're trying to explain what's going on with these songs, and for me, it feels like some of these songs are just kind of pigeonholed into the movie just because they want these songs in the movie and not because it actually makes any real cohesive sense. So let me go ahead and explain who these characters are. So Evan Rachel Wood, she's Lucy. She eventually becomes a character who is protesting against the Vietnam War. She joins a group who are kind of like the Black Panthers. It's a group of, well, I don't know if that's fair because I don't know if the Black Panthers were sort of like aggressive extremist type people. Maybe they weren't. The only reason I say Black Panthers is because I remember in a movie there was a scene where they go into this Black Panther hangout, and it very much looks like what their hangout is from this movie. It just reminds me very much of a Black Panther hangout that I saw in a movie, but it could be not true to what they actually were, so if that's true, I apologize. I don't actually know a lot about the Black Panther, so maybe that's wrong. So she eventually plays someone who is involved in this group that are extremists. They are sort of violently protesting the Vietnam War. She's kind of clueless to it being a violent group. She thinks that they are non-violent and they're just trying to create a better good for society. And eventually, she kind of realizes what she gets caught up in at the end of the movie and takes herself away from that group. Jude plays a character who, basically the main character of the movie. He is someone, becomes a college student. He goes to college with Max. They end up dropping out of college together. They end up getting an apartment together with Sadie. Sadie is kind of a Janis Joplin type character. She is a singer and she's also their landlord. Her voice is very reminiscent of Janis Joplin. My assumption is that they are definitely wanting you to imagine Janis Joplin when you see her. They're trying to get back to those 70s vibes. So anyway, Max and Jude are the main characters. They rent this room from Sadie. Jude is in love with Lucy. He ends up falling in love with her. Jude ends up, at some point, he gets deported back to England, which is where he was from before he came to the United States to go back to school. Max ends up getting drafted. He tries to come up with all sorts of different ways, gimmicks to avoid the draft, but none of it works, and he ends up getting drafted into the war. Martin Luther is a character who is in Sadie's band. Um, he is very much a Jimi Hendrix character. When you look at him, I think you're supposed to think of Jimi Hendrix. He is also a guitar player and a lead singer, like Hendrix was. Only real difference is that he is right-handed, and Jimi Hendrix is very famously the greatest left-handed guitarist who ever lived. But when you see him, you think of Jimi Hendrix. Prudence is a character who is in the band with Sadie and JoJo, and also is best friends with Lucy, I believe. Um, I'm going to be 100% honest. I kind of lost track of who Prudence was throughout this movie. There's a scene where she's in a closet and they're singing Dear Prudence, and they're trying to get her out of a closet, which is famously, I believe, something that really happened in the Beatles' life. This was a scene out of like something that really happened with them. Besides that scene, and besides the scene where at the end where she's with the band, I really don't remember a lot about her from this movie. Joe Cocker plays kind of a bum slash pimp who has a couple singing parts in the movie, but he's not a main character. Bono plays Dr. Robert, who is a very strange cult leader type character. We'll get to him later. And Eddie Izzard. Honestly, hell, if I know what Eddie Izzard plays in this movie. It is a very weird scene where he plays a guy named Mr. Kite. But we will also get to that as well. So that kind of sets up who these characters are. All the main characters are named after Beatles songs, except for Max. I can't think of what Max would be from. Maybe I'm missing something pretty obvious here. But Lucy is clearly from Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Jude is Hey Jude. Sadie is from Sexy Sadie. JoJo is from the song Get Back. He's a character in Get Back. He thought he was a loner. And then Prudence is from Dear Prudence. So they're all named after Beatles songs. So this is a coming-of-age movie. It follows these characters throughout their lives as they're going through their different paths through the war. It's pretty well acted. Everyone in this movie acts pretty does a decent job with acting. But I mean, there's a total of 31 minutes of dialogue in this movie, so they don't have a lot of time, a lot of chance to do acting. Lucy and Jude, I guess towards the end you believe that there is the love story between them, I guess, is believable. Though I don't think it's fleshed out very well. They sing to each other a lot. They have probably, between them and Max, they have the most talking points in this movie, the most areas where they have actual dialogue. But I mean, a lot of the time they're distanced with each other, a lot of the time they're not distant. So it's your typical coming of age relationship that they have. Sadie and JoJo also, so Sadie is a singer and JoJo is her guitar player. At some point in the movie, JoJo overhears that Sadie is talking with an agent possibly about going solo. And then the next time we see JoJo, he is basically ruining his professional relationship with Sadie because he's jealous and because he wants to also prove that he can go solo. And then at the end of the movie, they're doing a rooftop scene where they're sort of like the Beatles. The last concert the Beatles ever gave was on a rooftop. They are also doing a rooftop scene where apparently they are not only back now as a singing couple, but they're also a couple romantically, which is very strange. I've never read the Harry Potter books before, but when I watched the movies with my fiance. I think I've referenced this before. But at the end of the last Harry Potter movie, Harry Potter ends up with this girl who I don't know her name. I apologize because I've only seen the movie all the way through once. Um, but at the end of the movie, when he ends up with this girl, never have read the books before, I think, what? That's really weird. I would never have thought that Harry Potter would have ended up with that girl. That's so random. Like he saw her once, maybe twice throughout the entire series of movies. At the end, they're somehow married for some reason. I got the same. I got the same feeling with this couple at the end. Although this couple, I am very much not as invested in as I was with Harry Potter, because Harry Potter, there was like 8, 7, 8 movies, and they were you actually get invested in the characters. Where in this movie, I wasn't invested with the characters, and I think that's a problem also. So one of the main problems for me in this movie is it does everything that I think a musical should not do. And I think it does everything that when people think of why they might not want to watch a musical or why they would hate a musical, even if they've never seen it, they think of the things that happen in this movie. The characters just are. I honestly didn't care about any of them. Even Max, who went to the war, and there was a possibility that some harm could come to him. I really didn't care. I didn't care about Lucy joining this group and possibly getting killed because she is an extremist group. Didn't care about Jude getting deported and maybe never seeing Lucy again. Trying to build characters and trying to build a relationship and doing it mostly through song and visual effects to me just does not work. I need the characters to have like meaningful dialogue with each other throughout the entire movie, and then I needed to have a lot of dialogue, and then at the end set up a short musical number that kind of climaxes that dialogue, and then move on to something else. This movie, it seems like, I mean, it's obvious to me, they had a library of Beatles songs, and they said, how can we design a movie from these Beatles songs? How can we arrange these Beatles songs into something that would make sense in a movie? Whereas in a musical, you really need to have a movie first, have fleshed out characters, write the dialogue for the characters, know where the movie's going, and then decide where the create the songs based on that and decide where the songs are going to go. It's not. I don't understand how you can take an album or a series of songs from a band and then just make a movie out of it and expect for it to have characters that you care about and meaningful dialogue when there's basically no dialogue at all. And when I ask my friends, have they ever seen musicals before? They say no. Like, I really don't like a movie where like there's just songs the whole movie, and you have to kind of decide what's going on yourself through these songs. And I think that this is what this movie does, is that it just throws a bunch of songs at you, it throws a bunch of scenes at you, and for me it doesn't build emotion. I'm not emotionally invested in any of these characters. I'm not emotionally invested in what's going on, and I'm not emotionally invested in the story or anything. I mean, the music's fine. A lot of the songs, some of the songs, they only play part of the song. They replay some of the songs, but I could just play a CD or play Spotify. Well, I don't think you can listen to the Beatles on Spotify. So I can go to anywhere. I can listen to the Beatles in a myriad of other ways without having to watch a movie and create what's going on in my head and try to figure out what's going on. And this movie just wasn't for me. And there's some really weird parts in this movie that I still don't understand. So Bono plays a singer, and what happens is that From what I can understand, they go to he's either a singer or he's a public speaker or something. But they go to see him and he sings a song, and then they cut to a scene and they're all on a bus together, and the bus breaks down, and now he's like some prophet guy who they're at Mr. Kite's house, and Mr. Kite's also somehow linked to Dr. Roberts, um, and Mr. when they go to see Mr. Kite, it's like some weird circus thing with like people. I think they might be high or on drugs or something. But it not only doesn't make sense, but it's another one of these scenes where there's little dialogue and it's just like a couple songs put together. So not only am I confused already as to what's going on in the movie, um, I have to listen to the songs, listen to the words of the song, and try to piece together what's going on myself. And if I'm misinterpreting what the song is telling me and what the scene is telling me, then none of it makes any sense. And um, I'm left how I am right now, which is completely confused. Um, so this musical to me was not good. It lacks a cohesive script. It needed a lot more dialogue and a lot less songs in it if it really wants to be impactful and make a lot of sense. Seriously, with 31 songs, I mean, they probably could have cut 10, put 21 songs in this, put more dialogue, make the characters more meaningful, give them more of a reason to care about what's going on with them, and it would have been a whole lot better. Um, I think with this, it was just a missed opportunity. Um, I'm not really sure what. I mean, I'm assuming the audience they were going for were Beatle fans, which there still are a ton of Beatle fans. But I also don't know if a lot of Beatle fans are necessarily fans of musicals. So I'm not really sure what the target audience was here. Because usually, if I can tell what the target audience is, I at least will be able to guess as to what they're trying to do and what it was supposed to be. But I can't. Um, so that's number 10. This movie was incredibly disappointing for me. I really wish that it had more substance to it. I really wish that it gave the characters more of a reason to like or dislike them, and it just did not do it for me. But Joe Cocker had a great voice, like I knew he would. So there's one thing that did not disappoint. So if I'm gonna grade this movie out of 10, I will give this movie a 4 out of 10. Um, and I will say, I think that Rotten Tomatoes has this at around a 55. I think IMDb has this around a 7.5. And I think that Roger Ebert gave this movie 4 stars. So, in some way, I am in the minority, at least in what the critics' view of this movie is. But I don't necessarily always believe the critics, and the critics are not always right. But this movie just wasn't for me. So that's number 10 of my thrilling 10 least favorite movies of all time. And join me next time. Hopefully it'll be sometime soon. I'm thinking maybe I will have my next one out either Wednesday, Sunday, or Monday. And it will be the movie Melancholia, which I'm sure is one of the movies that no one has ever heard of. So it'll be a string of movies that you probably have never heard of. So Melancholia will be next at number 9. Thank you. I hope you all have a great day.